All right, everyone, I am Kim Beegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Mill, and it's Wool Wednesday, and we are here inside the mill, and I'll talk a lot about wool and show lots. And the steam is probably coming at you, but I wanted to show you, and hopefully you can see pretty well. Let's put you in a little bit more, but you can see how this is alpaca that I'm washing, and see that big poof? So wool doesn't really do this. Wool will sit on the top and you have to push it down, but alpaca will literally like poof up. So I put the alpaca in the washer, and then the washer fills up with soap and water. And after it's done filling up, I've got to come along and push this little monstrosity back in because she desperately wants to be a big poof ball out. So I'll go ahead and kind of break the poof a little bit and then flip it around and get it so that all the wool is in the water and not just sitting on top of the water, which is what it's doing here. So, and I am going to be a little more gentle with this alpaca because it's a little bit on the finer end, and even in the tumbler it was getting more tangled up than some of the less finer alpaca. Not that you know, alpaca is lovely most of the time. Alpaca is pretty darn soft. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to take you off the pod just so you can see from a side angle how this one looks, and then we'll carry on. So you can see how poofed up that is off the side there. So I'm just going to break that little air bubble, get the alpaca going, and then we'll be washing away. Okay, let's move on. We've got some carding ahead today. All right, you all, we are at the picker, and I just want to go down and show you what we've got here. So this is, if you were in Fiber Club a couple months ago, we had merino, BFL, Romney cross wool. This is the last of it that for some reason I must have gotten tired. I was processing a lot. And then this is alpaca. And this color and these colors are going to make this beautiful rusty reddish color, and I'm in love with it. So that's what we're doing today, is just picking this out. I'm going to try not to lose the camera in all of this, and we're going to get going on some picking. Sorry, my tripod is not working with me here. Okay, I think we're there. I'm going to pull out just a little bit so you can actually see while I'm doing this. So I am going to, my picker's on, it's Halloween, so I'm wearing my ghosty earrings today. So this is basically a 50-50 blend because I only have like a pound of that wool, and it's such a lovely wool that I wanted it to go a little bit further. So we're just doing a 50-50 with the alpaca, and that's a lot, and I'm going to be picking out a little bit of neps. So I'm just gonna, I do a fair amount of opening with this wool because it is a beautiful fine wool, and we don't want it getting all caught up, but it is officially fall here. Fall weather is on us. And so the humidity in the building is back to my ideal. And we're just gonna pick some wool. That's what we're gonna do. I'm very excited about this blend. It's gonna be an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Once it's spun up, I actually am spinning in Fiber Club a couple months ago. I did, and you all would have seen it happening. I took our alpaca fiber, which is similar color scheme here, and blended it with some horn Dorset, and I'm spinning it up at home right now, and it's so lovely. It's just like this beautiful, deep, rusty rose color. So when I thought of expanding this, I thought, great, let's do it. So I'm just going through and putting a fair amount of alpaca and a fair amount of wool. I'm opening up the wool more as we go along, like I said, just because it's a bit of a fine wool, and I just kind of want to get it a little more open and make sure it's not getting too caught up as it goes through. And it looks like it's processing through great. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and keep running this through, and then I will let you all see when I'm getting towards the end what the other side looks like. All right, you all, we are back at it, and this is all done. I'm just gonna show you. So now I'll do just a light conditioning. It's that time of year where I don't feel like I need to do as much conditioning. I'm hoping that'll, just eke by. Let me make sure it's not in the way of your field of vision. I think you're good. So I am just going to pull a bunch of fiber out, and it's pretty well. I kind of like to grab from all over so that I know it's blended even more. And you can see, considering this is only 2 pounds of fiber, it really fluffed up. So then we do our conditioning. And like I said, I'm just gonna do a little bit. Alpaca loves to static, so I'm just gonna give it a little help. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I'll go home covered in this alpaca, which isn't the worst thing, right? So I'm just gonna do a little bit. Blend it in. Again, you can do this at home. If you're getting static on your fiber right before you start to card or comb fiber, this will help decrease that static that you might get. And I do have a recipe on my blog, beingyouthful.com. You'll have to backtrack a little bit to find it, but there is like a homemade conditioning oil on there. So that's all I'm gonna do for this. And I'm gonna go through and condition the rest of it, let it sit. And I like to let it sit overnight, or at least for a half an hour. If I'm like, I gotta get this carded today, at least a half an hour, because you want the fibers to absorb up that conditioner. So this is ready. I am gonna do the rest of it and then we'll be off to the carder. All right, we are here at the carder, and this is something I threw together just last night. I had some silk that I got that was already dyed up, that was from an estate sale I went to, and I had tossed it into a bucket with some other stuff I got there and forgotten about it. So here is some of it. This is, so the pink and purples that you're seeing are the silk dyed up, and the gray is natural colored Romney, and it's really lovely. I'm so excited to have this going. I love it when I'm like, let me just throw these things together, and it looks lovely. So I'm gonna turn this on, and we'll pop down to the other end, and we'll see how this looks, but it's really good. It's really good. I'm gonna make sure the purple is this is not gonna be like perfectly consistent in coloring, but I think that makes for a more interesting finished yarn. So, and of course, as always, I'm picking little things out along the way. And this is probably maybe just under 10% silk. Move some of this down so it's a little more even, because we're not at the blue line yet. Okay, let's go see what this is looking like coming out. Ooh, it's gonna be so fun to spin. Here we are. Go in closer. Look at how lovely, with just that small amount of silk. Isn't that amazing how much difference it is making in this fiber? I'm gonna take you all off the tripod so you can see a little bit closer up. But just that little bit of silk, less than 10%, and it's making that much of a difference in the coloring. It's gonna be so gorgeous. And of course, when it's hand spun up, it's gonna saturate even more, but it's just gonna make a really interesting, beautiful yarn. And of course, it's gonna add a little luster and a little extra softness. Okay, we've got more to card. We've got to carry on. All right, you all, we are at carding number 2 for the day, and I'm going to turn the machine on because it's ready. So this is that fiber that I picked out the other day. This is the merino cross wool blended with about 50% alpaca, and it's pretty epic. It is pretty epic, and it's carding up beautifully. All of it is carding up beautifully. So I'm just gonna get this little batch out. I'm running this pretty well, actually. It's light. I'm running it lighter per feed because of all this fineness between the fiber, the wool, and the alpaca. But well worth going a little slower for when you see how it looks on the end. So let's go ahead and pop over, and I'm going to take you the other way around. So let's see the fiber here close up. Oof. So the white and the gray is the wool, the dark fawn is the alpaca, and we're going to walk around this way. And I actually have the guard off there so you can see. I was just cleaning in between batches, so you can kind of see all the different rollers that are happening in there. And then let's come around here and enjoy this. Oh my goodness. You see how beautiful that is? It is a lot, it's pretty fawny, but then there's streaks of that gray and white coming through. It is gorgeous. I'll take you off the tripod here and let you see a little up close. Oh my goodness, it's just fluffy. It's carding beautifully. It's gonna be dreamy to spin, dreamy, dreamy. All right, if this episode does not convince you to get onto my Patreon, I don't know what will. Maybe you just have enough fiber. All right, we have one more thing to card up today. See you in a minute. All right, this is the last thing on the carder today. And I'm doing this last because it's the darkest, basically. Also, because I think this is a merino cross, same as what was in that last batch with the alpaca, but this was kind of like what the shepherd considers seconds, a little bit shorter, a little bit less even in staple length, which when you're breeding for wool, a lot of times, depending on the breed, you are breeding for a consistent staple length throughout the sheep. She's breeding for that too, but this is just kind of what she would consider seconds. Some of us would say, oh my gosh, I thought it was absolutely stunning, but it is a little bit shorter. Some of it is like 1 to 2 inches, and then some of it's probably like 2 inches or so, a lot of it. It looks tiny, but then you stretch it out and it goes a lot further. So I'm gonna turn this on. The other reason I decided to do this second is because it is kind of not the primest of prime stuff. It's gonna have a little bit more nepping, and so it's probably gonna get caught up in the machine a little more there and taking a little more time for me to clean up after. And I didn't want to be slowed down today because I was trying to get through so much. So I'm actually haven't started pulling this through the roving deck yet, but I will in a minute. But I thought I would get this started, and then you all can come along as I get the roving deck lined up. And I think this would be really gorgeous, especially for like a support spindle, because it is a little bit shorter. I think it would be a really nice spin on a support spindle. This was just like a pound I got from her of the second, so I'll probably just sell this as one whole batch. So it could make a nice, like a vest, or depending on the sweater you're looking at, maybe even a sweater. So let's go over and see what's going on the other end. We'll go this way. We should have a good amount coming off. And because it is so merino-y, it's gonna stick together pretty well. So I'm gonna stop the machine, and hopefully you can see, I think you can see pretty well that there's a little sheet coming off here. And we were talking recently about, I'll pull you off so you can see better, in I think a Patreon meetup, whoop, wrong way, about what a cloud is. So this would be if I just put like a box under here and collected all of this fiber coming off of this drum. If I just collected it into a bag or a box, that's considered cloud. So it's been carded, but it's not in roving, it's not in a bat, it's just coming off the carder loose. And then you would just kind of grab at it and spin it off of there. See if you can get an angle so you can kind of see that that nice webbing coming off. So I'm gonna go ahead and collect up a little handful, and I can see there's a little bit of nepping in here. There's just some short fibers, maybe some second cuts, but it's actually not too bad. It's carding up pretty nice. Her wool always does card up well for me. So let me grab a little bit and we'll get this roving going, shall we? And I tend to do roving most of the time because I can. I'm gonna grab this, and this will just get recycled back into the wool. Show you a little handful of it. Of course, it's showing up a little bit lighter because of the lighting, but so we've got that little web that I've pulled here. It's staying together really nice. Depending on the wool, sometimes if you had a wool this short, it would not stay together well coming off the carder, like say a Gotland. And this is probably not the best angle that you're getting. Sorry, you all. I'll move over here a Gotland, even when it's 5 or 6 inches, it can be really hard to keep it together because it's so silky. So I'm gonna come in here and pull my web through, and I never can get quite a very good angle, but you'll get to see as this fiber is coming off the carder here. And that's always a really fun part. I hope you guys aren't too bored on this episode. I know it's a lot of carding, but it's always so fun when you get to see it come out, right? That's like the most exciting part, is when the fiber comes off the machine. So I am just going to put my belt on here, and then we'll get rolling. And then I'm gonna go home because it's been a big day of washing and carding and all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and pull this off and see how it's gonna look. So that just guides, this little metal just guides through. And there's our fiber. I'll take you off so you can see, and we'll walk around the other side too, but it's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful fiber. Nice deep color it's gonna be. And then it's got a little bit of gray through it too. So let's go over to the other side and we can just kind of watch it going in the machine. And that's everything we've got for today. So you can kind of see there's some gray fibers in there. The fleece is a lot darker than it's showing up on video because of my lighting, but oof, it's gorgeous. We'll go back over one more time. Look at that. It's just carding up beautifully. A joy to spin that's gonna be. Okay, I gotta put that into a container and get moving. All right, see you all. Onward. All right, you all, it is time to do some spinning with this. And I have 2 of the fibers here. This is the Romney silk, and I thought, you know, I'd love to do some spinning at the end of this. And my heater is on, so if it's a little bit extra loud, I apologize. So when I am figuring out what I want to do with yarn, I tend to not spin to a pattern. I tend to spin and then figure out what that yarn is going to be best for, because I don't really like to pigeon a wool into a certain thing. So with this fiber, this is Romney and silk. The Romney is a little bit on the coarser end for the Romney that I get. Not coarse, but you know, just not as soft as some. So for me, I automatically go, if I'm working with a coarser wool, a lot of times I will go towards long draw spinning, which I'm doing a very short long draw right now so I can stay in the frame, but I'll pull back and show you, because I feel like it'll maximize some of that softness if I keep it in a nice lofty yarn. Apologies you all for the heater. It'll probably turn off in a minute, but it's chilly, so I'm gonna leave it on. So anyway, I am doing some long draw with this. Because of the silk, it still wants to spin really fine, and I'll pull back a little bit, and then you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing here with my draw, but it still is going to spin fine. And I'll just make sure I get enough twist in there. You know, long draw, it is easy to not put enough twist in, but it still spins beautifully long draw. It spins beautifully short forward too. If you wanted to use this for like a lace work, then I'd probably think about spinning it short forward to get more stitch definition out of this. But it's a lovely wool. So let's go ahead and look and see what it looks like, and then we'll spin the other one. All right, here it is. So there is some of it spun up. If you wanted to have it more crisp, then spin short forward, or even just put a little bit more twist in it as you are spinning it. But now let's go ahead and, sorry you all. Okay, my patience is not as high as it should be today. So I had to pause there, cuss a few things out, and then get back on. But luckily you can hear me over the crazy heater, it sounds like. So I forget what I was saying before. Brain's not working. Okay, so now we have our merino alpaca cross. This could go either way as well, right? This is extraordinarily soft because the alpaca in it was luscious. Not all alpaca is created the same, just so we're out. Just because it's alpaca doesn't mean it's going to be the softest, right? But this alpaca is exceptionally soft, and the merino cross, exceptionally soft. So this would be an actually really scrumptious long draw because it's going to have so much air in it. I'm going to move this along just so it can be next to that purple and we can see how this is going to spin out. But where it can be next, sorry you all. Okay, so if we spun it long draw, we're going to get that big poofy airy yarn. You could still spin it thin, right? So here I'm spinning short forward. If I start spinning long draw, we're technically going to get the same weight yarn because it's more, I didn't change anything about the tension, right? The uptake is the same therein. I'm going to get about the same weight yarn, whether I spin this short forward or long draw. It's really just about, do you want a really crisp yarn or do you want a really airy, fluffy yarn? I could go either way with this. It would make, because you can put that extra twist in this and it's still going to be really nice and soft, it would be lovely short forward. But let me pull back a little bit. It also would make a pretty stupendous, light, fluffy, slightly heavier weight yarn, maybe in long draw, or even not. The alpaca is going to give it some beautiful drape, whichever way it gets spun. So, you know, just things to think about. I find that if I try to spin something for a pattern, I just am going to end up having less fun and getting more frustrated with the process. So I like to just find the fiber, let it speak to me a little bit, and then figure out a good project for it. And I'm going to stop here in just a minute and we will take a peek at this. I will be having mill day the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, and I am setting fibers aside for that. So if you're coming, there will be some lovely fibers in the mill shop. Okay, let's take a peek. All right, so here we are. You can see a little bit of it if I don't get in the way. That brown there, it's really, really beautiful. I spun it pretty thin, but it's gonna be beautiful. All right, you all, that is all I have for this week. I'm coming to you the day after the election in the US, and I thought about not doing this video because it's like lots of us are feeling all the feelings, right? Feeling grief, feeling sadness, feeling disappointment. But that's when we come together, right? That's when we come together as community and we reach out and we are there for each other. And I thought maybe some other makers just need to sit down and make and get some wool love. So I hope you are finding comfort wherever it is that you can today. And for those of us that are grieving and feeling this sadness, let it be, right? Let it be there. Let's sit with it, and then let's get up and find hope again and start to help others again. So thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until I see you next week, make so many pretty things. Thank you.